Reverend Fathers, Michael hiding in the back, Mr. President and members of the Arch Confraternity. I have to admit, and I begin always every year by saying this, I'm always rather thrown by having to speak at all at the meeting every year, because I know that our President Paul will speak about most issues that normally I would like to cover, but there are always one or two little things that I need to say or want to say. And first amongst them, of course, must be, as always, a word of thanks. Because my role here as the National Director is to be, if you like, in the person of our Cardinal and the Superior of our Order. And so on his behalf, I thank you who are being here today. But I think more importantly, I thank the thousands and thousands of altar servers around the country who day by day, week by week, are assisting faithfully in the altar. The say this, and as I was writing these words, I was reminded of some words spoken to us by Bishop Nicholas Hudson when he celebrated an altar service mass for us here in Westminster a few years ago, and I quote, Bishop Nicholas said, "The Eucharist means thanksgiving, and part of what we're about in the Mass is giving thanks to God for the great privilege of serving the Mass. Your holy patron, St. Stephen, was a great servant of the Lord, even to the point of laying down his life for him. So we should ask St. Stephen to pray for each of us, that we too might be better and better servants of the Lord." That, of course, is the essence of what it means to be an active member. And I stress the words active member of the Arch Confraternity. So I know many of us here, parishes we've had the privilege to be in, have enrolled many a young person who we see briefly for a time and then rather give up on their membership. So it's the active members I want to thank first of all, and perhaps we might encourage those who have fallen by the wayside. But Bishop Nicholas went on to tell us of his own serving days. And once again, his words are significant and made a great impression upon me. After Mass, he said, "My father and I would always meet Fred, a beggar outside the church. Dad would give him a threepenny bit or a sixpence, but he never gave it straight to Fred. He always gave it to me to give to Fred." I realize now he was teaching me an important lesson. He was saying, serving isn't about just serving the Mass. Serving is about serving the poor and the community as well. Of course, when we come to serve, we come to help the priest offer the sacrifice of the Mass, to help him bring to the people of God the things of God, an awesome and a humbling task. But our service doesn't and should not just end at the church door. Every member of the Guild is called to witness to their faith, not only at the altar, but also within their community, so that others see that serving has brought them closer to the divine, and they can see the working out of the divine in and through them. And as I go from parish to parish, less today, but more in the past, I'm constantly humbled by this ever-growing army of people, young and not so young, who come to witness to their faith and see that the Father is looking after, is being looked after at the altar. And although I hesitate to say this, I've said it before, and in some cases, that Father is doing what it says in the book, not making it up as he goes along. Behave. But then, the point I'm saying, that they seeing not only the servers serving faithfully, but also witnessing to service as they go out of church, they see how much the benefit of being a member of the Guild is, and how we treasure their witness both in and out of church. Now I must move on to one or two other items. Items I am obliged to mention every year, items that must be central to the life of our Guild. And the first of these, and I will not pause for the groan, but the first of these is safeguarding. We need at all times to be proactive in fulfilling the obligations that are ours with regard to child protection and the care of vulnerable adults. Every affiliated parish must make it their duty to ensure that such procedures are in place and are constantly being renewed. and are in line with the policies outlined by the Bishops' Conference. That's not in my script here. I think for those of you who are MCs in your parish, one of the dangers is, and I've seen it happen in the parishes that I've served, that we forget to keep an eye on the age of the youngsters who are serving. And suddenly, overnight, they need to have a DBS. We would be in trouble if we've not pursued that important part. So that's an addition. If you have any difficulties about keeping to the policies, do not hesitate to speak to your parish priest in the first instance to make sure that all is as it should be. If that doesn't solicit the result you want, then speak to us here at the Guild and we will actively pursue forward. I make this point because we have seen very recently in the media that even the highest in the land can be caught out by not observing safeguarding regulations and not defending them and maintaining them. But equally, we must not become paranoid about this issue. Professional, certainly, but not overwhelmed. It is still our task and privilege, not least as the largest organization of young people in the Catholic Church in this land, to encourage youngsters and the not so young to come forward to offer themselves for service. And we must not discourage them. To allow that to happen would be to give in to the modern world and its peculiar values, and to forget that we are a community who believe in Jesus Christ. And as Pope Benedict said in his encyclical many years ago, Spe Salvi, we are a people who are saved by hope, redeemed through Christ's death on the cross, a redemption that is brought into the present moment every time that we gather priests, servers, people around the altar to celebrate Mass, the place where we as a guild have much to do and are privileged to stand. The issues we face in the field of child protection and the care of vulnerable adults may be arduous, but we must not be tempted to throw in the towel. We know that our goal is to assist the Church in helping to establish the kingdom of God. The journey and our destination are worth the effort. I know I reported to the Guild AGM a few years ago that in my going around the country, time and time again, I would come to a parish where there were no servants. And when I challenged Father about why this was, he freely admitted that because of safeguarding, it was more effort than it was. That is to give in. And that must not happen. We must make sure that it doesn't. But enough of that. Perhaps I think the greatest challenge we're going to face in the next few weeks is the new lectionary. I can but hope that all of us here today and who are joining us online know what that is all about. And if you don't, where have you been for the last few months? A little story. When I started to train for the priesthood in the 1970s, all the talk at seminary was about the new lectionary, which would be with us soon. Now that was 50 plus years ago, and it's just arrived. But then perhaps we rejoice in the fact that the Catholic Church doesn't do anything in a hurry. Certainly, I've had the opportunity already to look at the books. I'm sure most of you have. They are finely produced, easy to read. A number of the parishes which I, as a retired priest, are now encountering have already had in place sessions for their readers to meet together, to look at the lectionary together. And many of them may have invited their servers to come along as well. An opportunity to see the new cadences and rhythms of the new language. If you haven't done it yet, encourages. We need to hear and listen and understand the lectionary. And if we don't hear it properly with our ears, we will not digest it with our hearts. As I said, the volumes look ideal. I think it's an excellent idea to invite servers and others in your parish, or even yourselves as MCs, with obviously speaking to Father as well. A further exciting and continuing aspect of our guild life and outreach is that parishes from all over the world continue to be affiliated. what a joy that is to welcome them into our ranks. A particular joy, which was only a few months ago. And first of all, Catherine wrote to me about the request from the ordinarians. And it was a privilege to speak to Bishop David when I was in St. Mary's, Warwick Street, I remember the address, when I was able to speak to him directly about this and make it clear that he's quite easy. You just join as a branch within the guild. And I know that has now been effected, and we welcome them particularly. I have no doubt that one of the things that does encourage people from all over the world to approach us is the new web page. And I know that goes from strength to strength, and we hope it will continue to go from strength to strength. Not with anybody in particular here, but I thank the web people who've been looking after it, because if you can access things from all over the world, you can learn more about us. But equally, we can learn more about the Guild in other countries in the world, around the world as well. Look at it, enjoy looking at it. Further to that, though, and I think this is something that I've mentioned in the past, I'm very conscious that we are occasionally approached by parishes in parts of the world where affiliation is a great desire, but where they are living in circumstances where the idea of writing to us for so many badges and so many handbooks is financially not within their grasp. I think we as a guild, we often talk about the fact that we have funds. If we discover a branch in a situation where they cannot afford the guild goods, I think we should be seeing how we can help to make them available so that they are truly, truly fully affiliated to our guild here in the UK. Now, finally, I wish to express my personal thanks to the members of the Central Council who worked tirelessly throughout the year for the furtherance of the aims of our Archconfraternity. Thank you, Paul, for your leadership, and thank you, members, for your support. Special thanks, as always, go to Father Keith. Father Keith, as you know, looks after the goods and chattels and makes sure that they get well distributed, etc. And as always, Keith, thank you so much for all that you are doing. I thank you for coming today. I thank you out there for joining us online. And it's a difficult time of the year, but I thank you for making the effort to come. So I thank you most of all and bless you for your service. Finally, I want to end with some words from our Holy Father. One of the things I noticed on the web, and I was glad to see there, were the annual international meeting of altar servers that occur every year at St. Peter's. In the years past, we weren't even aware it was going on. We have tried to make some grounds towards joining those gatherings. I've had the privilege of being in one in the past, and it is amazing to see the piazza in front of St. Peter's heaving with altar servers from all over the world. And I wish we could be there with them. We need to keep a closer eye on them. But I finish with some words from the Holy Father to those youngsters in Rome this year. When we receive Holy Communion, we experience that Jesus is with us, both spiritually and physically. He says to you, I am with you, but not in words, but not only in words. Instead, he does so with that gesture, that act of love, which is the Eucharist. You too, in communion, can say to the Lord Jesus, I am with you, not in words, but with your heart and your body, with your love. Precisely because Jesus is with you as servers at the altar, we can truly be with him.